Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Our first story is about a military wife who got on her OP's nerves. Wow, what a psycho she is. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Entitled Navy Wife. As a veteran, I have lots of respect for military personnel and their families. However, as most of us know, there are plenty of turds amongst the gems. This event occurred 10 years ago. This lady pissed me off to a level I cannot even describe. To preface this story, I just completed my undergrad and was preparing to transfer when I get a call from entitled Navy Wife, Daisy. She wanted me to tutor her son in math and science as the school can't help him. Background on Daisy, she's a typical dependent who thinks the son is a born rocket scientist. I think you all know the type. My connection to her is through her husband, poor soul. Nice guy, but not the sharpest tool in the shed. So here we go. Daisy gives me a call about a month prior to my transfer out of the area. Daisy, hey, I need you to tutor son in math and science. The school cannot help him. Me, I'm transferring out of the area in a month. I don't think I'll have time. Daisy, you have to help him. The school cannot do crap for him, and it'll wreck his chance at a good college. Me, see previous statement. Daisy, fine. You're transferring, I get it. Son wants to work for NASA. He's smart enough to do it. Son is a sophomore in high school at the time. I owe his dad a favor, and I have 30 days of leave to blow. I'll help the kid out. Me, okay, I can tutor him until I have to depart. What does he need help with? Daisy, he failed pre-algebra. The school says he needs special education classes. I think this is bullcrap. Who the F are they to tell me he needs special education? Those kids are just a bunch of dumb butts who are useless to the world. Well, that pissed me off. I have a special place in my heart for special ed kids, as I was once one. Plus, my parents were and still are special ed teachers. Me, I don't think I can help your son out. I realize he wants to work at NASA, but that requires a deep understanding of math and science. Daisy, duh, that's why you need to tutor him. When can you come over? Me, again, I do not think I can help him. He needs help I'm not qualified to give. I'd recommend looking into these special education classes. Cue Daisy nuclear meltdown. Daisy, you're an effing engineer. How the F can you not help him? Also, who the F are you to tell me my son needs special education? You hardly know him. Me, okay, I'll put this another way. I'm not going to help your kid because your comments are effing insulting. Go to the effing school, have the son effing tested, and effing listen to the professionals who help son out. Set him up to be successful. Daisy, F you, smart butt, you don't know crap. Thanks for ruining my son's future. Hung up after that. I called husband to forewarn him of the upcoming butt chewing. After story. Husband divorced Daisy about a year after this event. Daisy's remarried and is still living the dependent lifestyle. Son eventually did get the help he needed. Unfortunately, he had to repeat his sophomore year, but did graduate. Son now works for a cable company and is doing relatively well. And our second story. Entitled Neighbor Mother got what she deserved in the end. To give some context, I'm from Brazil and my parents always lived a, financially speaking, comfortable life. Around 2011, they started building a house in a gated community. Neighbor on the right side didn't live there, was selling the house, so never bothered us. But boy, was the neighbor family on the left extremely entitled. Not all of them, to be fair. The father and sister were pretty cool. They handpicked that land because the land we were building our house on was owned by a fella that passed away and his children were fighting over heritage, so they assumed they would have a few decades of peace. But the issue was resolved in less than 6 months, and they sold the land to us. In that community, there was a rule that allowed construction work to be performed between 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. between Monday and Friday, and the EM made sure to have us follow that rule. If they started working at 8:58 a.m. or if they were still at the house at 5:01 p.m., she would call the HOA, gated community was managed by homeowners, to file a complaint, which made the construction last way longer than it was supposed to. We had to work between 9:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. after some point. I'm not joking about the 5:01 p.m. There was a day that we literally received a phone call at that time from the HOA asking to have the workers leave the house after an anonymous complaint. When the construction was finally finished and we moved in early 2013, we thought we would have some peace. But boy, were we wrong. She would call to the HOA to complain about any noise we made. There was a rule that loud noises were only allowed between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m., weekdays and weekends alike, and we didn't make any noise in other times. However, she would make excuses saying she had headaches, had to wake up early, etc. We really believe that any kind of sound annoys her. I'm really not sure how her husband tolerates her, and the HOA would call us because they didn't want to handle her complaining. There was a particular time that we had to end a birthday party at 4 p.m. because she was complaining about the music and saying that our guests were blocking her driveway when there wasn't even a single car parked in front of her home. Related that case, she also wouldn't tolerate anyone parking in front of her house. There's no specific ruling telling people can't park in front of other houses. You only can't park in a driveway, to the point where she would threaten to call a tow truck. However, her guests would always park in front of our driveway, forcing us to call the HOA and get some nasty looks from her when they had to remove the car. All of this was horrible, but manageable. My family doesn't party that much, only birthdays. We'd call 8 people at most. So we were only annoyed by her 4 times a year at most. However, here comes entitled son. In Brazil, it's common for sons and daughters to stay at home until they finish college, sometimes up until getting married. But ES was a special case. He was in his mid-30s, had a job working for his father, basically sat at home watching TV, was extremely entitled, and owned a tuned Subaru something. All this would be okay, but he had to be a jerk. He would call his super employed friends, who also happened to have tuned cars, to listen to music and drink beer almost every Thursday until 4 a.m. when his mom wasn't home. Not happy with making loud noises with the music until that time, they would also get in their cars and start freaking stepping on the gas for several minutes before leaving, waking the entire neighborhood in the process. Me and my sister at the time were in college. I had to wake up at 4:30 a.m. and she at 6 a.m., so Fridays were a pain for both of us. Several complaints were filed against them, but HOA was too afraid of EM to do anything about it other than ask her to stop making noises, which she denied since her son was precious and HOA would leave it alone. My sister was fed up with it one day and decided to complain directly to her. The result was being name-called, a B-word, liar, jealous, etc., and ridiculed by the entitled son. He said she didn't know squat about cars, and they had to do this when it was cold or else the oil would freeze. Have I mentioned that we live in Brazil? Here, during winter, the temperature rarely goes under 20 degrees Celsius or 68 degrees Fahrenheit for my neighbors from the north. After that, ES made sure to make my sister's life hellish as he could. Would block her car whenever he could when he saw her leaving our home, would turn on the music as loud as he could. My parents are the kind of people to leave things alone. That's why they didn't bother to challenge her, but my father was a little vengeful. He's the kind of person that spent more on the home theater system than in the rest of the appliances at the home. After that incident, he would proceed to turn the music as loud as he could every Saturday and Sunday at 8:01 a.m. He designed the sound system to not let almost any sound from the home theater to leak inside our house, so that didn't wake us up. Entitled mother would call HOA to complain, HOA would call my father, and he would ask what he was doing wrong, which would prompt no response from the HOA. Unfortunately, that revenge only lasted about 6 months from our side because my parents moved away. Me and my sister left our home as well before that. However, we found out that the people who bought our house not only were karaoke people, but also the father from the family's a big balls public district attorney. No one in their right mind would dare mess with one here, especially since corruption's really strong and they can make things happen as they please. So EM never dared to complain about it. And our last story. I humiliated my supervisor. I, 55-year-old female, have been working for the same place for over 20 years. Here comes a new supervisor, we'll call him AH Boss. My previous supervisor hated me because Hell, he just hated women, period. So when boss took over, he gave him an earful about me. A little background on me. I do my job very well, but I don't take crap off no one, which resulted in me and a new supervisor to bump heads. So when the new supervisor took over, I was the problem child. boss hated me from day one, no matter what he hated me. One day at work, I was feeling horrible and told new boss I needed to leave to go to the hospital. If looks could kill, I would have dropped dead right in front of him. He didn't want me to leave. I left anyway, and thank God I did, because I was truly sick. I had emergency surgery that night and was out of work for 2 months. While I was out of work, this man harassed me every week as to when I was coming back. He was lucky because I was on heavy medication at the time and I didn't feed into his BS. 2 months later, I'm back at work and realize none of my work was done by my backup person. I had over 509 reports that needed to go on our website. I asked him what happened and he told me, "Don't worry about it." I thought that was weird because these reports needed to go up within 60-day period, and it was well past 60 days. A few days later, I asked again and he said, "No, don't post it," because he had other people to do my job. I said, "Okay." I then went and sent him an email confirming he didn't want me to post it. He came back saying, "Yes, I don't want you to touch it." I said, "Okay," and saved my email. Here's the malicious compliance part. A few months later, people started inquiring about the reports and why the new ones were not posted. It got to the big bosses and they questioned the both of us. He didn't know they'd already questioned me about it and he started yelling at me about not doing my job. I sat there at my desk just smiling. When he went in about getting me fired, I simply said, "Oh, are you talking about the reports you told me not to post?" He said, "I never said that." I turned to my computer and printed out the email stating I was not to touch the reports. The look on his face was priceless. I then told him I sent a copy of this email to upper management and they know it wasn't my fault. By this time, his supervisor was yelling for him to get in his office. I smiled and said, "Good luck with that." He ended up leaving a few months later. I got the biggest satisfaction in knowing I got him in trouble and I kept my job. Well, if he was dumb enough to put down an email what he tried to deny, then he deserved everything he got. Very well done. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.